I will be brief, but appreciative. We're not done yet. This is all uncharted territory, really, for everybody in America, but we feel like we've taken a very, very important first step in our 2018 class. We signed some unbelievable young men, some great players, make no mistake, great players, but also really, really great young men with unbelievable families, unbelievable support systems, and unbelievable maturity. I can't thank the Texas high school coaches enough for opening their doors and arms, figuratively, for us and our staff from the time that we first got here. That they made the transition pretty easy, and we are always and forever indebted to them. As far as I know, you guys are going to ask me about early signing day. I think it is a good thing for the players that know where they want to go. I really do. It lets those guys wrap up recruiting and not have to worry about being hounded in the month of December, late December and January. And I think it's really, really critical for our mid-year guys. We're anticipating 9 mid-year guys. That's a lot. And for them to be able to sign a piece of paper that says, I'm done, I'm coming to Texas, and then us be able to treat them as Texas football players, meaning we can send them now playbooks, we can send them nutrition plans, we can send them weight workouts, so that when they get here in roughly 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, they'll have everything that our guys here currently on the team have. The one thing I think that goes unnoticed too is when you recruit as locally as we do, once those kids sign, the dead period doesn't apply to them. And so they can be on our campus. We can visit with them off campus at any time during the year. So it just makes that transition a whole heck of a lot easier. It is a bit of a grind for us, especially with bowl prep and official visit weekends, and as well as trying to do as many home visits. I think this is an interesting stat. I think I counted 8 of our 16 or 7 of our 16 guys that we've signed. I have yet to be in their homes or at their high school. That's crazy to me. I mean, absolutely crazy. We've got a young man where, the best I could do, because he was, his high school was in a different city as his parent. The best I could do was go see him, because you're working in this three-week window, again with bowl preparation and kids and families on your campus every week. So we're going to get out and see all of the families in their homes and at their high schools in January. Really, really excited for Texas football right now with these 16 kids that we've signed. We've got 3 or 4, I take that back, maybe 2 or 3 still left to sign in this early signing period, as well as then take another maybe 8 in February. So we're definitely not done. This will be a full, if not over full class of maybe 27, 28, 29, somewhere around there, because with all these mid-years, we can count them back last year, which was our plan with not signing a full class last year, knowing that this rule would be in effect, this new signing rule where you can only sign 25 per class. So now technically I think we can sign, because we were 6 short in last year's class, as long as these are mid-year guys, we could sign up to 31, I think, right now, because we can count 6 backwards to last year's class, as long as we have, again, those 6 are mid-year. And like I said, I think we're planning on 9 mid-year guys. So, this was a much bigger plan. This plan goes all the way back to when we first got here 13 months ago, and what we were going to do with the 2017 class in terms of being able to then save a lot of these scholarships for this class and count them backwards. So with that, again, thank you to the families. Thank you to the young men that signed with us today. Thank you to the high school coaches for making our job here in the state of Texas the best one in America. Questions?
Do you have a question? Start up front with Brian.
A couple things. Can you confirm Anthony Cook yet?
I'm not allowed to comment on players that haven't signed.
And also, too, you can't comment on Keontae Ingram, but do you expect a running back to sign?
We expect one or two more guys to sign either tonight or by midnight Friday.
Okay. And then this has got to be a huge shot of adrenaline for you and your staff, I would think. 5 of the top 50 guys in the country on 24/7. Number 3 class right now. Still a top 5 finish. What does this do for you and this program and the whole thing going forward?
Yeah, I mean, just some more numbers. You know, we went from signing signing 0 players in the top 10 in the 247 composite rankings last year to 10 of the top 15 in the state of Texas are either signed or committed with us. That's huge. That's huge. We had to make sure that these players stopped leaving the state, that going out of state was more attractive to them. And I don't know that the University of Texas has changed. I don't know that we've changed much. Obviously, you know, the facilities was a big point of emphasis for us when we first got here, and that helps. Kids deserve to train and be trained in the best facilities in the country. But I think it is just unbelievable proof at the power of relationships in recruiting, and that parents and kids don't want to go places where they don't trust their coaches. They don't want to go places where they don't trust their position coach or head coach or strength coach or academic coach or nutrition coach. And it takes time to develop that trust, and it takes time to develop that connection, and it takes time to develop those relationships. But given that time, I think, you know, our staff is as committed to loving our players. I didn't say don't hold them to high standards. I didn't say there not be consequences when they don't achieve those standards. But we love our guys very, very much, and I think it's very evident. If you ask any of the parents of this signing class, they will tell you that really stood out and I think made a difference. And then when you're allowed that much time to then foster those relationships, you know, this is the top 25 public institutions in the country and the #1 city in America to live in, and with a rich tradition-laden program that I think everybody can see is headed in the right direction.
You're right, Anwar?
So, Coach, if you
Anwar.
thank you. Appreciate the respect. If you didn't make it into 7 or 8 homes, I imagine you didn't make a road trip to Australia.
I didn't.
So, what's the backstory, you know, behind this guy? Tell me how to pronounce his last name, if you can.
I would butcher it if I tried. So
okay, what's the backstory with this?
Well, obviously he's our punter's cousin, and I've got a long relationship with those guys down at Pro Kick, and you know, it goes everywhere from Cameron Johnston, who was on the Ohio State team that I was a part of, to then Dane Roy at Houston, to now our punter currently here, and now so when those guys say this guy's the next whatever, you believe them because they're that good at their job. Obviously, we're not going to take a kid to a full scholarship sight unseen, so we watch the video, we pore over it, we analyze it. To say that any of us are anywhere close to being the punting gurus that those guys at Pro Kick Australia are, that's false. So a lot of it is our trust in them, and you know, the different kids that we've seen that have come from their program and the success that they've had here in the States.
And that last thing on that one, does that have anything to do with Dixon and his decision as far as their need to take a punter?
I don't know. You know, we'll talk about his decision after the bowl game, but we wanted to make sure if he did decide one way that we were okay, and we had the number to give. And if we've got 2 punters on scholarship next year, so be it. And we'll redshirt him, and he's going to play 4 years one way or the other.
Your left, Danny.
You guys are taking 2 quarterbacks who are both going to be here in the spring. You know, what do Cameron and Casey bring, and can they compete for the starting job?
Yes, they can. As long as we have quarterbacks, they will all compete. Yeah, it's a really unique year, man. Really unique. I've never seen a Division I program have to go through a season with two scholarship quarterbacks, but we did. And so we had to sign 2 because ideally you'd want 4, sometimes 5 in that room. Now ideally you'd like them all maybe in a different class, and you know, you're playing old guys, older guys, not sophomores and freshmen. But you know, you can't just snap your fingers and wake up and Shane's a senior and Sam's a junior. You know, they are what they are, and so. Those guys will compete. I think, you know, maybe the misconception because they get labeled by recruiting services as dual threat and pro style. I don't know what that means. Cameron Rising can run. He can run good enough to run our offense. I can tell you that. And Casey Thompson can throw the football. And so I think, you know, I think it's good to have a balance in that room. I think if you have 4 guys in that room that are uber athletes that can't run, you got no shot. And if you got 4 guys in that room that are, you know, can really spin the football but can't extend plays with their feet, then you got no shot. So we've got the gamut in there, and so I think I'm excited about them and their skill set. I think it fits our offense really well.
Back right, Chip.
Tom, on the offensive line, can you talk about the guys you've signed, and also Junior Angelo, if you know what his plan is as far as his mission?
It's Ongilao, like songbird. I'm the songbird of my generation. Is that what he says in Step Brothers? It's Ongilao. I don't know. We're going to continue to talk about that. I think he's undecided at this point, but really excited. Obviously, we got to get better. We got to have numbers. You know, plain and simple. We're going to go through spring if we don't sign a junior college guy with 9 offensive linemen. So you know, even just signing 1 junior college one is critical to hopefully we stay healthy and can field 2 units for spring practice. So these guys are. You never want to play a offensive lineman as a true freshman, but you know, I think Rafidi might be of the 3 maybe the most ready, with Junior being an unbelievable run blocker, but playing in that triple option offense has a little bit of work to do pass protecting. And then you know, Reese he's a freak, man. Reese is 6'6". He's 282 pounds, I think, a couple weeks ago on his visit, and at our camp, he ran 4.9 40. I mean, it's freaky, and the kid's he ain't gonna stop growing. He's gonna get bigger and stronger, and unbelievable parent. I mean, they all got unbelievable parents, and Leslie and Sione Angilao, and Todd and Kathy Moore, and Leah Germay. I mean, it's no wonder those kids have achieved the success they have, and just really excited about those guys being part of our program.
On your left, Sam.
Tom, one of the prospects that was committed that hasn't yet signed noted that he's going to wait till February. With this being uncharted territory, how does that affect you and your staff's efforts over the next 6 weeks? How do you handle that?
The best word I got is reevaluate. You know, we've got to sit down, put our heads together, and say, the hard part is, again, the shell game. I think I heard Coach Meyer talk about coming in late on guys, and it's almost impossible now. And so the art of keeping a guy warm, I don't know if it exists anymore. And there's no shame in that. I mean, at the University of Texas, you're going to have guys that you offer, and you're going to have guys that if we don't get that guy, then we're going to go offer that guy. Well, the problem is now you don't know if you're going to get that guy, and then all of a sudden the guy that you were going to put in that place, he's going to sign with X school in December, and you're left crossing your fingers because you put all your eggs in the basket of this guy. And so, we've got to be. I don't know. I don't know the answer because we're never going to offer a kid and tell him he can't say yes. I don't like that way of business. Then it diminishes what the word offer means. It diminishes. If we offer you a scholarship at the University of Texas, you have the right to say the word yes before we even finish the sentence. And we're going to be doing, if we have done that, we're going to be doing jumping jacks and cartwheels down the hallway if you say yes. And so now you walk the fine line of, okay, do I offer more guys, knowing that maybe some of the ones that you had ranked higher might want to wait, and now the ones you had maybe ranked a little bit lower want to say yes. And so it's a big-time balancing act because, again, these kids have really, really good places to go, really good places. And then those schools are then telling them, well, if you don't sign with us and Texas hasn't offered, we've got to move on and we've got to go then sign whatever that position is. And then so the kid gets nervous and, am I going to have a spot at either place? And so that is a long answer to what the question really at the end of the day. We just got to reevaluate where we're at and reevaluate what's left. We got to reevaluate what hasn't been signed at those positions too.
You right, Omar?
Thank you. You guys made some late offers to some linemen also, but you also, I think over the last 2 years, you guys have maybe signed maybe one defensive tackle. Is it just really hard to find offensive linemen and maybe defensive linemen, in this state and even outside of that?
This state, it has been difficult the last 2 years. I'm not going to, you guys know, you cover recruiting. It has been difficult. Next year, we got to knock it out of the park next year, especially in the defensive line. And we feel good. We feel good about what we have committed at defensive line currently. We feel good with a couple of the offers that we have put out there that in February we're going to sign a really good defensive line class. But we also know that we're only losing one in Puna Ford, and next year's class, especially in the state of Texas, is loaded. And so we can be a little bit selective, much like we were last year, and you see the dividends paying off a little bit this year.
Your left, Nick?
Twitter, as you know, obviously known for being really level-headed and mild. It's already calling this...
And positive.
Very positive.
Yeah.
Already claiming this is maybe the best DB recruiting class of all time. Just wondering what your expectations are, and then wondering why you think Jason Washington was able to sort of get through to all these guys and convince them to all come here together.
Yeah, I think Michael Huff and Aaron Ross and those guys might have a little bit of something to say. I know maybe they weren't all the same class, but there was some at the University of Texas especially. I mean, this is I don't want to get into the who's DBU and who's not DBU, but this is I would put our DB history among anybody in the country, and I think Jason Washington and Craig Niver have an unbelievable track record of developing talent. I mean, we're talking about a guy in William Jackson at the University of Houston. When he put his papers in to the NFL, he was fourth or fifth rounder. And in 11 months of being in our program with Todd and Jason and Craig, he's a first rounder. And that's not coincidence. That's development. And I think we've got the best corners coach in the country. You look at the kids that he has put in the National Football League from Texas State and from Rice and from Houston, and where they were coming out of high school in terms of what all of the experts thought they were. We're talking 2 stars and no stars that developed into NFL corners. And so now you take that developmental ability in the secondary as a coach, and you put it with what is coming into that that meeting room as 4- and 5-star talent, and I'm excited to watch how these guys grow in the next couple of years.
Stay on the left, Brian.
Now that you can talk about the kicker, we've been writing about how it'll be great when the Lake Travis kid is here.
I know.
But just for Cameron to finally sign and come, and then along those lines, who else in your mind do you like? We need this kid to hit immediately and start paying dividends immediately.
Yeah, I think any time recruiting specialists is interesting, because you're going to keep 3, at the most 4 of your 85 scholarships devoted to a specialist at any time. You're going to want a kicker, punter, deep snapper, and maybe a swing year kicker or punter. And so a lot of it is timing for these kids. And does my dream school even need a kicker at this point? And it just so happened that the stars aligned that we were in the market for a kicker, and one of, if not the best in the country, was right around the corner at Lake Travis High School, and grew up a Texas fan and wanted to come here. So that was exciting. Who has to come in? I think the corners are probably the ones that stick out to me. The corner, just all the DBs probably. With Deshaun leaving and Holton leaving, and there being some spots back there, as well as even the ones that are coming back. Most of them are going to be seniors too, so those guys need to play and play well early.
Stay on the left, Dan.
Last February, during your signing day press conference, you referred to Daniel Young as probably maybe the steal of this recruiting class, and that certainly has panned out. Is there someone in this class where you kind of would apply that same terminology to?
I look at Reese Moore, and from when we met him to what he looks like now, I mean, it's a different kid in just a year's development. To think about what he's going to look like when we get him in May or June, and then what he's going to look like a year with Yancey and that crew down there. It's hard for me to wrap my head around, what the ceiling is for that young man, because I think we haven't even come close to it yet. And so I'm excited to watch him develop. I don't think these were really, really highly recruited guys, so to say any of them are steals, I don't think we were seeing anything in any of these guys that nobody else did.
On the right, Anwar.
Coach, last year you was in an interesting situation. Didn't have a lot of time to recruit, and in that you saw a lot of the top guys in the state go outside the state of Texas. I think the majority of the guys in the top 10 weren't even in state. According to our rivals rankings, Texas is the first school to ever sweep the top 6 players in the state of Texas. What were you guys able to do to get guys from Texas to stay in Texas?
I don't to me, I didn't think we did anything superhuman. But I grew up in a world where that's supposed to happen, maybe not the top 6, I guess. If it's the first time ever, then it's the first time ever. But I felt like this was bizarro world on signing day last year, when all of these kids are going to the Midwest and going other places, going out of state. And I was just like, what's going on? And then, we're here for a reason, our staff. And so I really, again, I can't say it enough, and I know it gets tossed out flippantly at times, but relationships, man. These coaches absolutely love these recruits, just like they do their own players. They have earned the trust of the key decision makers in that person's family, not just the young man, but the parents and the coaches and the grandparents and the uncles and the people that raise them and everybody. You know, you've got to have time to get your tentacles around all of those different people and get them to trust you. And we were able to do that, and we plan on continuing to do that. I will tell you this, one group of people I didn't thank, and I should have in my opening deal, and I hope everybody's listening. I want to thank our players. Our players are unbelievable recruiters for us. They are unbelievable recruiters for us. And because, again, it is my job, it is our assistant coach's job, it is everybody's job at the University of Texas when a recruit is around to make sure that the best of the best is shown to that recruit. But when you get around our players, and this is true in any program, when you talk to the players, they're going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you the truth as a recruit and as a parent. And our players were off the charts in terms of their glowing remarks for our program with these recruits. And I think what you saw, too, is a group of kids that, especially even the young ones, the 31st ranked recruiting class in the country, they understand that they're not going to achieve the things that they want to achieve individually if they don't have great players around them. So they really got into recruiting. They want, Coach, do we got the number one class yet? Is it number one yet? Is it number one? I mean, that's our players, our current players. We're bringing basically, essentially, kids in to try to take their jobs in most cases. But they know that the only way for them to achieve the results they want on the field is if they have great players around them. And I can't thank them enough. So, yeah, it's just relationships, man. I mean, this needs to be the new normal, you know, and I'm committed to making sure that it is.
In the back, Chris?
I feel like last year didn't have a lot of time to recruit the guys, you know, like you did this year, and so much of the focus was on this is going to be the big year, your first full recruiting cycle to come in. And I know it's not done yet, you still have February, but has it been what you wanted it to be, this early signing period, these guys that you have? Yeah,
because I think, you know, we've walked away from some really good players too. We have. And we're never, hopefully never, going to be in a position where we're going to have to take character risks, culture risks, academic risks, just because a kid can run fast or jump high. We were very firm in our patience and had to walk away from guys. But I think to steal a line, I think it was Chris Peterson is where I read it, and he talks about OKG, our kind of guy. And, you know, we talk about with our staff all the time, is he a culture fit? Is he a culture fit? Is he gonna come in here and do the things necessary in our program to succeed and thrive? And when the answer is yes, I mean, these guys all are that. The one word everybody's asked me about this class thus far is mature. I mean, these are some grown dudes, man. Brennan Eagles, when you talk to him, you think you're talking to a 30-year-old businessman, you know, not some 17-year-old high school kid. You just don't. These are unbelievably mature guys that are really, really committed to not just, hey, I want to win, but, hey, I want to do all of the dirty work necessary to win.
Last two on your left, Joe?
Of the linebackers, you have committed only Byron signed right now. What can you say about him hitting his fit into the defense? And then also, you mentioned some families earlier and dropped some names, but what about some specific family members and how they may have helped this class come to shape?
Yeah, Byron is the sky is the limit. Another kind of potential guy right now. He's 6'4", 209 pounds. I don't think anybody thinks that you can play outside linebacker in the Big 12 at 209 pounds. So he's going to need to put on some weight. But, I saw we had a bunch of these guys in on their official visit last weekend, the second to last weekend. And they were all kind of walking together. The new thing now is to put the whole uniform on and take pictures. And they were all walking together. And you're looking at, Reese Moore standing next to Rafidi Girmay, standing next to Malcolm Epps, standing next to Byron Hobbs, and you're like, whoa, these guys are long and big. And so that's the thing I think about Byron a bunch is his length, and when he fills that frame out, and gets to be 245, 255, somewhere around there, that's going to be a beast. And then, parents, does it get better than Mother Hustler, right? She's like the linchpin in this whole outfit, right? She might be our best recruiter. But to have one like that, BJ's mom is the same. Just unbelievable communication with some of these kids that were uncommitted at the time and their parents. Because, again, some of these kids that commit early, they do so because they feel like they have gotten to know you and your staff enough, right? They've had the time. Why does a kid not commit early? Well, maybe he hasn't had that same kind of time or exposure. And so the parents of those young men are critical. When a parent of an uncommitted kid has a question, it's called Natalia Vaughn's, she can tell you. And, the parents of our current players have really, really helped too. I know we leaned on Connor Williams' parents a bunch. We leaned on Malik Jefferson's parents a bunch. We leaned on a bunch of different parents. Malcolm Roach's dad has been phenomenal in recruiting. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but the current parents do a great job recruiting for us too. And so I'm sure I'm leaving them out. You kind of put me on the spot. I'm leaving a bunch out, but the queen of Twitter, Mother Hustler, it's hard to leave her out.
Last one in the back, Chip.
Tom, in honor of Sean Adams, who asked you the question last year that I think led to your answer of we will have a top 10 class, and Sean said we need to hold him to that. You've done it. I know Sean's looking down on you right now.
We're not done yet either.
But, right. In terms of culture fit, what is the primary thing that you have to see or know about a kid to know that he's a culture fit? And leadership, what do you see in a kid coming out of high school that tells you this is going to be a guy who will lead for us?
The culture fit, I think the biggest word, probably 2 words, would be competitiveness and toughness. If you're worried about depth charts, you're worried about guaranteed playing time, you're worried about how many guys are ahead of me, and how many pairs of shoes do I get, and all that stuff, we're good, man. We're good. You can go someplace else. We want guys that want to come in and compete because they know that great teams are made from competition and toughness. I think that's one of the things. I look at those 3 safeties. Are there 3 harder hitting safeties in the country? I don't know. I haven't watched them all. But those 3 will hit you. And we've seen around here that if you're willing to play really, really hard on defense and really, really physical, you're going to have a chance. And then leadership, I think the biggest thing we ask, was he team captain? Was he respected by his players? Was he on a winning team? I think, I've seen those teams that have 4 or 5 Power 5 kids sign and they go 4 and 6. And why is that? They're playing teams that have 0 Power 5 signees and getting beat by them. And so there's something wrong there from a leadership standpoint. And your best players should be your best leaders and your hardest workers. And so if a kid a young man is good enough physically to play at the University of Texas, then we feel like he should also be then the hardest worker and the best leader on his team.
Thanks, guys.
Good. Thank you.